Hi, welcome back. Next episode on building your infrastructure the easy way with Bicep files in Azure. And this time we're going to do the most tricky part, and it's the VPN Gateway, because there are some caveats there, some things you need to work around. You need to have some certificates in place to start with. And so this will be the most complicated part, I think, of this whole environment to set up, but we can do it fully automatically. And I'll teach you how. And I was not sharing my screen yet, by the way, but I was mentioning this VPN gateway in our fantastic design that we have. And basically, we're going to deploy this VPN gateway, and this is the one that's sitting between the internet and basically our whole environment that is running here in Azure, because everything is running in a private interface, so to speak. Or just imagine doing that, and otherwise we fix it. At some point, this VPN gateway will be the gate to our environment, right? So that's very secure. So nothing is publicly available. Everything goes via the VPN, and then you can connect from your Windows PC, for instance, or Linux or Mac, whatever you have, to your environment, and then you can manage it from a VPN perspective. So today we're going to focus, or this video I mean, on the VPN gateway and also on the VPN client. So we're going to install that as well, so that you can see that we can actually access this environment. And after that, we deploy a Linux VM and a Windows VM inside of these VNets, and then we will see if we can actually access that via the VPN gateway. Okay, and then we sort of have our environment up and running fully. We can install our applications and configure our other stuff. Just imagine. So let's focus on the VPN gateway. Yeah. And setting up a VPN gateway can be quite tricky with the Bicep file. You can certainly do it, but there are other methods as well, and I want to teach you that as well. And for this example, this is a perfect, I think, VPN or something like that. Let's search for VPN. I think then you have Virtual Network Gateway. I think this is the one. Yeah. So we have a Virtual Network Gateway. You don't have anything yet. We're going to create that. And we're not going to create it here, of course, but we're going to create an example. So I will call it Dev Gateway for now. We're going to run it in West Europe. It will be type VPN. It will be route-based. I will do a basic scoop. Virtual network, that will be the dev network. And then it wants to create a new gateway subnet. It's always the case, by the way, so that's fine. Public IP address, create a new one, and then we call it dev, I call it mbit2411 dev public IP, okay, something like this. And let's do it that here as well, a little bit properly, the name, dev gateway. So now we can go next to the tags. I don't want to configure any tags. Review and create. So basically I'm not going to create it, but what you can do is download a template for automation. You see that here down? Download template for automation. So we're going to do that instead. And we download this template. And it seems very intimidating, right? So we just Control A, Control C, we copy that over. Go to our Bicep here, and we create I don't know, gateway.json for now. That is the JSON file. We paste in that content. Not now. What you can then do is Bicep decompile. So you decompile the JSON file, gateway.json. Then we get the gateway.bicep file. If everything goes okay, and you have a gateway.bicep file. And basically what you can do now is Control A, Control C. And we put that in our own Bicep file here, and we're going to modify it. It's really easier, and you will see why as well in a minute. See all these kinds of things like public IP address resources. It's quite some stuff. You can certainly type it out as well, but I just wanted to show you a different approach this time, because it will be the most complex part, this VPN gateway, and there will be a lot of components still coming, so to speak, like the certificates and setting the certificates and getting the hashes and such and such. Okay, let's first just examine this file and see if we actually understand it, okay? So we have a name parameter, we have a location parameter, And we can for now even hard code them. We can also leave them the way they are, but we can now use the hard coded names that we have, right? Because I think this is the gateway name and we call it mbit 2411 dev gateway, right? And I need to do that properly. Yes. Location string equals resource group dot location. Okay. So we can use that now. Then we have VPN and express route. And we set the gateway to the VPN. As you saw in the demo, the SKU type, I don't know what we had. I think it was basic, right? Basic. And the fun thing is, if you don't know, and I'll teach you how. So the SKU, it could be a miracle, right? Or a mystery, so to speak. You don't know which value to provide. What you can do is go to the place where that value is actually being used. What you can then do is remove that and do a control space. And here you have the valid names anyways. So you see that basic is valid, but you have a lot more. See? You see? There's a whole list. But for me, the basic was fine. So I know I can provide that value now here, right? It's a valid value as well, basic. So the VPN generation string, I don't know, but we can also search that, for instance, and we go to here. And what we can also do is remove this for now, control space, and just see you have only two options. And I think we had generation 1, by the way, so we just take that and go back. Generation 1. So we have that now here as well. Let's see what we have more. We have a subnet ID we need to specify. And we need to specify the parameter for the public IP address name. And I think we also had that at some point. I called it mbit 2411 dev public IP, called like that. We will make this a little bit nicer in a minute, but for now, a subnet ID. I have no idea, honestly. I need to find it out, I think. I think it's the ID of the subnet that we created in one of our earlier steps. So let's see if that's the case. I honestly don't know. Let's go to our development group and go to our VNet and go to our subnets, and we created the gateway subnet. Let's see if that actually has some sort of an ID. Let's find it out. I think it's just the gateway subnet, to be fair. So let's see if we provide that gateway subnet, because that's what I see here. I think that's the name. We will see. Perhaps it's not fine. Let's see. You run this. Yes, I think we're just going to run this piece of code and see what we get. So we don't do any key faults now, of course. We do the VPN Gateway.bicep with hard-coded values. .bicep. And let's run this and let's first see if we get an error or not, because I have no idea. It seems to be valid, the templates, so that's good. My experience is that deploying these gateways takes a long time, and often more than a half an hour, perhaps 45 minutes. There's a lot of stuff happening in the background, and it just takes some time. That's my experience, at least. So I think we got an error here because it finishes already. Yes, it failed. So let's see. Deployment viewing. Cannot parse the request. The ID property has to start with a subscription. Okay, so it doesn't. So I did that wrong, so I need to find out the correct syntax for that. Okay, I went back to the VNet, go to the JSON view here, then you have an ID here. I'm quite sure you can get it with PowerShell as well. There's many other methods, but I think this is the correct syntax. Let's go back to our bicep file, and instead of that, we feed it this value, the full qualified ID, with the subscription. It also says here it starts with a subscription. Now it starts with subscription, so I think this should be fine. We run it again, clear the screen, and I already mentioned it takes a long time. It's still running. Let's check our resource group because we should have some new stuff already here. Let's refresh. Yes, we have now gateway, we have a public IP address already. We have a gateway, Let's see if the installation is still running. Yes, the configuration is still running, the Bicep configuration. This will take a considerate amount of time. I think 30 minutes, perhaps 45 minutes. So this, you need to be patient here. Okay, finally deployment finished. So now we have a gateway in Azure. If we go to the gateway here, I already had it open by the way. Go to my resource group. I have a gateway now here, VPN Gateway, and there's some default stuff here, but most important thing is the point to site configuration. So I click on that, and basically you can configure it here in the portal, but I missed automation, so we're going to automate that of course, and I'll show you in a second how. But first I'll show you the interface here. So configure now, need to provide an address pool, some certificates and such and such. Okay, I close this. Go back to our Bicep file here. I'll close this for now. I will do a side-by-side comparison. So I will open Bicep Advanced on that side, and on the left side the original one. So on the left side, this is the file we just applied, right? This is the gateway we have now. You see with the name here, that corresponds what we provided there. But on the left side you see a lot of hard-coded values, right? This name for instance. So it doesn't make it really reusable, right? It's sort of hard-coded and only specific for this name and configuration. So what I did on the right side, create some more real estate here first. On the right side I created an advanced version of this Bicep file, of this VPN gateway, and removed most of the hard-coded values. Some of them are left in this, for instance, the VPN type, because it's, for me, it's always route-based, I guess. So I just left it in hard-coded because that's fine that it is the same across all the environments. But apart from that, I created some inputs here, like the gateway name. Instead of hard-coded, we now have it here in a variable, and we can then use this gateway name variable there, of course, right? That value. And what I did, I also added some extra stuff to make the VPN connection actually work, right? With the certificates I just showed in the portal. And there's a couple of extra parameters here. Those are needed to configure the VPN gateway properly. So let's investigate this file a little bit. Yeah, no. Yeah, it looks sort of the same as on the left side still. Yeah, there are some things added, of course, like this public certificates. We didn't have it on the left side because we didn't have this whole VPN certificates and protocol stuff, of course. Basically this whole part is new, that was not on the left side, and we're adding some values there. And how do we do that? So I created a PowerShell script for that, and this script accepts input, resource group name. Based on the resource group name, I set some variables that are used across the script. And for instance, here we inject a value that's needed, right? The resource group, so that makes it unique across all the environments. Forgive me for the backtick here. I could use a different append method, but because I was lazy. I don't like backticks. Because it's such a sneaky character, I guess it's almost not visible sometimes, specifically in some editors with some coloring. Sometimes you don't really see them. That's besides the point. Some other variables here, like which time of gateway, which time of school, which time of generation. If we want to, what's the current net, the VNet we want to add the system to and such. Then, this is all still kind of basic, right? Setting some variables based on other variables. And then here on line 46, it's a little bit more exciting because that's basically where we create this variable, and that contains a base 64 value of the certificate we're going to create. We're going to create a self-signed certificate here. We're going to apply that on the gateway. So let's go to this specific script, this cert gateway PowerShell script. So this script, I'm not going to explain it all. What it does, creates a certificate, exports a certificate, and the export actually happens here. And what it does then is return the value, that exported value, to the caller. And who is the caller? That is this guy, of course. And then it's stored there. And basically, if we run this configuration, because here the configuration is prepared, these are all the input parameters for this new AZ resource group deployment commandlet, right? And we feed that here by feeding it a hash table with some properties and values, right? That we have your template file and you have some values. And that's basically it. So let's go back to our gateway script here and enable the debugger. Let's start by doing that. Enable the debugger. I'll do the same for the certificate gateway. Because if I enable the debugger here, we can also see what's actually happening there. It could be interesting, right? And what we're going to do then is now run this advanced bicep file, right? This bicep advanced file. I'll close the left side, by the way. This advanced file, and we're going to apply that configuration now with VPN, right? So this part that we did not configure, point to site configuration, this whole part, we're going to configure that now with this code. And let's see where it ends. So again, let me open the correct editor because I'm still on the wrong one, yes. And then I open the gateway, I have a debugger there, and I have on the certificate also a debugger. So let's start this code. And it will ask me the resource group, right? This one is a mandatory parameter, so I need to provide that as input for the script, and I want to apply it on my dev resource group, right? It's my dev resource group. So I provide dev here. And now the debugger kicks in, of course, because we enabled that. And now I press F10 to go to the next line and just see what happens, right? So now the resource group, and it should be dev, right? I provided it as an argument, and it is. So now it sets some things like the subnet prefixes for VPN, because VPN will get a different range compared to your other VNets that you have, or subnets, I mean. Here's set the value. Nothing, but this will be skipped, of course. That will be skipped, and that as well. Now we set some variables, like I said, not very exciting. So let's move through that. Here I set the current working directory. I use that here, for instance, to call the file, the next script. So now we check if the resource group actually exists, because if it doesn't exist, it makes no sense, of course, to run the code. Then if it doesn't exist, we of course exit with an error and write the error to the screen. Now we're calling that gateway script I was talking about that creates a certificate, right? Certificate for the gateway. So now we call this, and what this does is, I'll show it as well. If I hover on it, we should see it as well. Yeah, let's see root search. So this is the certificate, and I already have that, so it's a little bit, perhaps I'm not playing fair. So let's remove that certificate first. So manage user certificates. I already run this some time ago, I think, and I probably already have that certificate here. Yes, mbit root. And should I use that? Because otherwise we just create a certificate. I just leave it there, because the logic is here already in the code. So if this root certificate doesn't exist yet, you know, if I didn't have one here, it would be created anyways. So it's fine, it's fine. So we can continue with the code. So I run this, and if not, and that will be false, of course, because there is a root certificate. What we do now is set a variable so we can export something. What we do here is remove a file if it exists. Not very exciting. Here we get again the certificate. Now let's see what's inside of that. Insert find. As you can see, there's again something in. Let's insert find. You can see certificate. What we do on the next line is with the certificate util. This here on 41. That's a command line utility in Windows. It's not PowerShell, so you can run that also from CMD or Python, whatever you want to use. And we do an encoding on that. And what we do, we create some output files. And what we do then with those output files is basically that's here. So on this line 48, we create a certificate 2 variable that stores an object based on the X509 certificate. Let's look at that. That looks like that. Okay. And what we do then is return that certificate base value that we have here to the caller. And the caller was our gateway script. So we click F10 again. And now we should return, of course, here. And now this base value here, you see, that now has a value. As you can see, it's quite cryptic. So, as you would have expected from a certificate, I guess, this is the value actually, okay? And this is what we needed to use in Azure. Because that's why I created the script to convert the certificate and then extract it to this supported format. Okay, so on line 48 we create a hash table that serves as input for this commandlet, right? Because this commandlet accepts a lot of inputs, and we can specify that at runtime. And some of these inputs are dynamic, right? This env is something I made up, right? This comes from my this bicep file. But PowerShell is smart enough to read that bicep file and the parameters and also supports them at input at runtime. So it's very cool. So and basically what we do here is set this whole property, all these props, and we can have a little look at those props if you're curious. So basically this is the input that we provide to that command that we just be calling in a second. As you can see, scoot type, gateway, and such, and this certificate code. This is very important. What we do now is press F10, and now we actually start the deployment on Azure, and I hope that it works. Let's see, right? And if not, we're going to try to fix it at least. So let's wait now. The certificate, the deployment is running, I mean, with the certificate. And okay, that was correct. It did fail. So let me see, perhaps. I don't mind recording errors, honestly, because I'm making errors as well. Something was not found. Okay, something was not found. So I made a mistake somewhere in a path or perhaps in a subscription. So I need to figure that out really quick. So I will do that. Well, I think I actually found it. I think this backtick fee that is an escape character, and this fee is a little bit differently colored as well. So I think this is actually one of the examples that the backtick breaks your code. So let's see if I just append it, the variable. So append it to two pieces together, and let's see what we get. So run it again. Perhaps it doesn't work yet. It could be I made some mistakes. I'm also making mistakes, and I'm not scared to record them. So let's see. Now we go to the code again. Not going to explain it, of course, but perhaps cycling slowly through it is nice, quite nice, right? At least for me it is. Let's see. So here we get the base value again, the certificate value, and I will just continue this whole script. I'll already show that. Now it's deploying the gateway, and I think I still made a mistake. I'm quite sure. So let me investigate some more. The error is quite clear because cannot bind to a parameter cert code because it is null. So probably this didn't return anything. So I need to investigate that. Yes, and I enabled the debugger, and I removed something here, right? As you can see, there's return equals and then a comment. So I removed something there for sure, and that is probably this value. Let's put that back here the way it was. Let's terminate the code. Yes, and let's run it again. And I will now don't enable the debugger there. I'll just run this, find our development resource group. I will just run this as well. Did I save it? No, I did not save it, most probably. So, well, I did save it, but I was kind of stupid, I guess. I did return equals, so I assigned the value to return it. That doesn't work, of course, so I need to return some value, right? So let's try again. We run it again. We'll specify our development resource group. Press F5 again, and now, okay, I didn't see anything invalid, so let's see if it actually works. Could take some time. So it's now provisioning some stuff here and there. Well, the deployment is still running. That seems a little bit promising, I guess. So let's wait a little bit more. And I'm well aware that the resolution of this drawing is suboptimal, to put it the least, but I don't have the original drawing anymore somehow. So I just made a screenshot of start of a video of mine, but it's not really properly visible. But it is what it is, I guess. So we're working on this VPN gateway here, right? This blue thing here. And I'm sitting here on my admin PC, this Windows PC, and I'm going to connect in a minute via VPN client over the internet to the gateway. And what that provides us for kind of access is basically what you see here on the picture. It's all these subnets that I have, these private subnets inside of Azure. I can now access only via this VPN client. There's no other way to access it. And inside of these networks, we're going to deploy some Linux and Windows VMs as well. And on each of these networks, there's also an NSG. You already saw that in the previous videos. That is doing the filtering on that subnet. So you have a sort of a firewall there, right? And okay, let's see what the deployment is currently doing. Let's see if it failed. It did fail, so I need to inspect that. Subnet gateway is in use and cannot be updated. Okay, that's really an Azure error. Let's see if it actually failed. Sometimes you get these errors and still it gets applied. I don't know why that is in Azure. Sometimes that happens. So let's just have a look at the gateway, point-to-point connection. Exactly. So we got an error from Azure, but it did apply. As you can see here, this mbit root with this fantastic certificate. We have an address pool here that we need to specify. So if we download the VPN client, this is something you can automate. I think I honestly don't know for sure because it's quite random. But I'm just going to show you this interactively, right, for the VPN client. So let's download the client here. Let's see what happens. It's now constructing a binary on the back in Azure, I think, and something like that. It's a sort of an installer specifically for this gateway. So sometimes it takes some time, and then we can actually we get a download for that. Yeah, as you can see now, we got the zip file here. So let's open the location of the zip file. Let's extract it. Let's have a look inside of what's there. So basically, you have a couple of flavors, I guess, and I have Windows 64 bits. So I will run this VPN client setup amd64.exe. And if I run this, it prompts you to install. Yes, of course. Do you want to install the VPN client for dev VNet? Hey, that's my VNet, right? You know that. So let's click yes and see what happens. And okay, I don't see anything. So let's see if we actually have something in our VPN settings, perhaps. Yeah. So I probably already had one previously. Let me remove it because I played around with this a little bit before. So let's remove them and let's do the installation again. Let's see if there comes a new VPN connection there. Yes, now we have it here. And now we can connect to it. And to begin connecting, connect. We connect and yes, we continue. We want to do that. Yes, the connection manager. And now basically we have a VPN connection, as you can see here, to Azure. And let's now go back here. Let's see what kind of IP address we have here. ipconfig/all. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, to be fair. Yes, this ipconfig/all. As you can now see, we have a point-to-point adapter to the dev VNet in Azure. And I have an IP address with this in this range. And I even have a DNS server there. But so the nice part of this now, if I would actually spin up a Linux VM or a Windows VM or whatever, and we're going to do that in the next video, we can use this VPN client with that gateway to connect securely over RDP or SSH to that box. And it's not publicly available, right? It's a privately enclosed IP address. It can only be accessed via the VPN Gateway. Yeah, kind of cool, huh? So yeah, I think this is it for the VPN Gateway part. I showed you all the steps, also the errors I made, right? I fixed them. And now we have a VPN up and running, and I can connect from my home system or any system as long as you download that VPN client, right? If you have that set up, you can distribute that to other systems as well, and then other systems can also connect to that environment. Yes, so this is it for the gateway part, and I hope to see you in the next video where we're going to create, I think, first Linux VMs. I like Linux as well, so let's create some Linux VMs in the next video. Hope to see you again.